I'm Anne, and I've been married to my kind husband for 3 years. We were very close, though we didn't have kids yet. We both looked forward to having children one day, until something happened that changed everything. Let me tell you what happened. My husband was always kind to everyone, not just me. My parents loved him, too. I also had a sister who worked a lot. My husband got along well with her, even though she focused only on her job. But then, suddenly, my husband's work got busier. He started coming home late and even worked on his days off. He seemed to have a new team to manage and was always on his phone talking to them. Looking back, people might have thought something was off, but I didn't suspect anything. I just worried about him getting too tired. One day, my sister, who lived alone, needed help finding furniture for her new job. She asked me to take her shopping, but I got a call from my boss and had to go to the office. Since it was my sister's only free day, I didn't know what to do. Then I remembered that my husband had the day off, so I asked him to help. He agreed, even though it felt a little awkward. He also said he needed to borrow my car since his was being repaired. I was grateful and went to take care of work. It was the first time my husband and my sister were out together, so I wondered if they were doing okay, if they found the right furniture, and so on. When I finished at work, it was dark, and I pulled out my phone to call them and plan dinner. That's when I got a call from an unknown number. "Hello, am I speaking to John's family?" a man asked. It was a stranger. "Yes, I'm his wife. This is the police. Your husband has been in an accident." The police officer told me that my husband's car had crashed, and he and his female passenger, my sister, were unconscious. I don't remember what happened next, but I rushed to the hospital. When I arrived, I told the staff my name, and they took me to the ICU. Through the glass, I could see my husband, connected to tubes and wrapped in bandages. I was scared about what would happen to him. My mother, who lived far away, finally came, and we spent a long night at the hospital. The police gave us more details. They said my husband had been driving on a clear road when another car ran a red light and hit him. The other driver was also badly hurt and treated at the same hospital. However, the driver said that my husband's car had been acting strangely before the crash, and they were investigating if he had fallen asleep while driving. A few days later, my husband and my sister woke up, and the doctors did some tests. My mother and I went to hear the results. The doctors said they would survive, but might have disabilities. We were relieved they were alive and hoped they would recover with rehabilitation. We didn't tell them about the disabilities. Instead, we only told them positive things. My mother cared for my sister, and I took care of my husband. At first, my husband was in shock from the accident. He felt terrible about what had happened to me, my mother, and my sister, but over time, he started to change. He became frustrated with his injured leg, the hospital treatments, and having to quit his job. It all made him irritable, and he couldn't control his frustration. Despite that, I kept going to the hospital because I knew he needed support, and I wanted to help him through it. One day, a police detective came to the hospital with some news. He said that the brake fluid in my car had leaked, which might have caused the accident. It seemed that the car had been acting strange before the crash. Because of that, he suggested that this could explain what happened. The woman who hit my car wasn't doing well either, and her mother came to apologize. This was the first time I met her. After that, things with my husband got worse. He started getting angry at me more often. He was upset that I could still move around while he couldn't. He also didn't like that I couldn't be at the hospital for long because of my work. He started ordering me around, yelling at me when I didn't do things the way he wanted. He threw things, complained about his hospital room, and even got mad when I went out to buy my own lunch. His demands kept growing. I felt bad for him, but I had to work to pay the bills, and there was a lot to take care of, like dealing with the police and talking to the hospital. I didn't even have time to relax. My husband's attitude was becoming too much to handle. It was clear he was feeling trapped. My sister seemed to be in a similar situation, and my mother was getting more and more tired. I even heard that my sister was asking my mother, who didn't have a job, to do even more for her. When I couldn't visit the hospital, I heard that both my husband and my sister were told they would be paralyzed even after rehabilitation. Then, I found out about the brake fluid leak in my car. My sister said to me, "I heard your car had a problem. You're the one who was supposed to take care of it. I can't work, and I can't get better because of this. Mom is tired, and your husband is the same. You're going to have to take care of both of us forever." My sister blamed me so much. It shocked me. I called my mother, Who told me that my sister had been like this for a long time? My mother said she was too tired to go to the hospital anymore, still worried about my husband. I went to the hospital. When I got there, I couldn't find him in his room, so I went to the common room and saw him sitting alone with my sister. Visiting hours were almost over, and the room was empty except for them. My husband looked at me angrily and said, "I heard if you had just taken the car in for an inspection, none of this would have happened." He then turned to me and said, "You're the reason my sister and I are in this mess. The insurance will pay for it, but you'll be taking care of us for the rest of your life. Don't forget that." That's when I snapped. I asked him, "Since when have you and my sister gotten so close?" He looked confused and asked, "What do you mean?" I replied, "You never visited her much, and now your mom sent her a message saying she can stay because neither of us can leave the hospital, but you're still talking to her more than to your wife?" It felt like my husband and sister were teaming up against me. "I know, right?" I said sarcastically. "You two hadn't seen each other for a long time before the accident, right?" My husband ignored my question, and my sister didn't even look at me. She just nodded when he said she would take care of them both for the rest of their lives. I didn't expect an answer, but I kept asking, hoping they'd understand how I felt. "I wonder if the woman who crashed into your car is getting better now," I said. "How should I know? She ran a red light and hit us. It's unbelievable," my husband replied. "Yeah, it was terrifying. We really need to make sure we get compensation from her. I was so close to getting a promotion too," my sister added. I couldn't just sit there and listen to them complain, so I decided it was time to tell the truth. "I need to tell you something," I said. "What is it?" they both asked. "First of all, I had my car inspected before the accident." "You did? Then the dealer should be sued. They must have known the brake fluid was leaking. Right?" "So, you knew?" my sister asked. "Right after the accident, the police contacted me. They wanted to know the cause, so they asked to see my dashcam footage, but my old camera doesn't record sound, and it doesn't start recording right after an accident, so you couldn't get anything from it." "I see," my husband said, looking confused. "But I got a new dashcam," I continued. My sister's face went pale. "What?" "I also installed a camera inside the car," I added. Her face went even paler. "You know, modern dashcams start recording even with a small shake. The police contacted me and said they had seen the footage." My husband and sister both froze. I could see the shock on their faces. "You two were up to something, weren't you?" I asked, confronting my sister. "What do you mean? Did you do something to the car?" my husband asked, starting to panic. "Why are you talking to my sister like that? Don't talk to her like she's your girlfriend," my husband shouted. I paused, then said, "I told you earlier, the camera records with just a slight vibration, and guess what? The footage has plenty of intimate moments between you two." I couldn't believe it when the police asked if my sister was in the car with my husband. My husband's face went pale. "You were having an affair this whole time?" I said. "You were both lying to me." My husband started blaming my sister. "Mary isn't the only one to blame here." Just then, the mother of the woman who crashed into my car arrived at the hospital. I had invited her. "Do you have anything to say to her?" I asked my sister. My sister looked confused. "Who is this?" "This is the mother of the woman who hit you," I said. "She's the one who should be paying for all of this." My husband stopped talking when he saw the woman crying. "Her name is Alice. I'm sure you know who she is," I added. My husband's face went completely white, and my sister was in shock. "Wait, do you know the woman who was driving the car?" my sister asked. "That means they knew it was your car that they crashed into," I explained. "Who is she?" my husband asked, looking lost. I decided to tell my sister everything. She was having an affair with John. He told her he was going to divorce me, but he didn't. When Alice lied and said she was pregnant with his child, John told her to get an abortion. After that, she couldn't get in touch with him, and she wanted to hurt me to get revenge. "Wait, so that means..." "Right, you were in the wrong place at the wrong time." "I can't believe this ruined my life," my sister moaned. "The truth is, there's nothing you can do now, no matter how much you cry or scream." "You're not exactly an innocent person in all of this," I said, letting out all my frustration. "Now you understand what happened. You were having an affair with my husband, and Mary tampered with my car's brake fluid to hurt me, but she got in the car herself and ended up in an accident. I'm the victim here. I was willing to try and work things out if you apologized and confessed, but you never did." You treated me horribly instead. Do you remember when we signed our divorce papers right after we got married? I never thought I'd use them, but I've submitted them today. We're done. Goodbye. With that, I left the dark, quiet hospital, feeling lighter for finally expressing everything I'd been holding inside. My mother was deeply shocked when she found out the truth. Not only was she devastated by my sister's affair, but she also felt the weight of having to care for her disabled daughter alone. Although I cut ties with John and Mary, I couldn't leave my mother to handle everything on her own. So, I reached out to the woman responsible for the accident, apologized, and asked her to compensate my sister, who was caught up in the accident by mistake, so my mother wouldn't have to worry. 2 years have passed since then. John and I are divorced, and I'm living on my own. Our divorce surprised my coworkers because we had been seen as such a close couple. Afterward, many men started approaching me, asking for advice. I thought maybe it was just a phase where men are attracted to recently divorced women, but even though I had some interest in them, the image of my ex-husband still lingered in the back of my mind, and I couldn't bring myself to date again. Instead, I focused on my career. I studied hard for a certification exam and even enrolled in an online business school after work. When I was married, I never imagined I would want to do something like that. I had never envied my sister, a career woman, and never thought I'd want to be one, but here I was, naturally working toward that goal. Life is strange, I thought. After the divorce, John moved back in with his parents, but they saw him as a burden. His relatives blamed him for his actions toward me, and I heard he wasn't doing well mentally. He had been acting violently, causing trouble for everyone around him. My sister also moved back home, but she became mentally ill and continued to act selfishly. My mother, exhausted, used my sister's savings and the accident compensation to put her in a care home. She had asked for my opinion, but I didn't oppose it. I told her she could do whatever she felt was best. If I hadn't realized what was going on, I would have spent my life as a slave to both of them. I'm glad I woke up when I did. I passed the certification exam I had been working toward, and I was transferred to a department where I could use my skills. I became close with the teacher from my online business school, and we're soon to be married, not to someone who's just kind to everyone, but to someone who's very kind to me. When I come home late from work, he makes sure to come home early to prepare dinner for us. I cherish this small happiness. Those are the thoughts I carry with me as I head home to where my partner waits for me.